Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall, where we throw ideas, see what sticks, and nurture those that do. I'm your host, Armando Leduc, an actor, entrepreneur, and coach, giving you insights that light up your world. We're here to explore the realms of business, marketing, and life, serving up a shot of inspiration with every episode. Ready to make ideas stick and grow them into something great? Let's dive in. Podcasting as a strategic business tool.
I feel like I've heard you say that before.
We're in there. We're in it. We're making it happen.
All right. Well, what drew you to that concept?
I'm trying to start these podcasts off right there with a hook. Like,
all right.
Boom, right there. Like, what are we talking about here? What is the promise here? Why should I be watching this thing?
I call that the Dagus. Does anybody give a shit? And so if you what's the Dagus of this?
I love it. Yes, I got my green juice, so my brain's working really well.
Yeah, superfoods.
Yeah. So, podcasting as a strategic business tool. And
right.
If you know what we do here at Leduc Entertainment, you know how we've been leveraging podcasting. If this is your first time, then buckle up. Because we're
here we go. Podcasting is your superfoods for networking.
There you go.
Networking superfood.
Networking superfood. So if you're looking to grow business, grow your brand, create content, thought leadership, and here's the deal, most importantly, and I've spoken about this ad nauseum, but I think that there was a book, and I'm always referencing books, The Ultimate Sales Machine. And they say it takes 17 touches for someone to become a client if they're a prospect, right? And Adrian here, he's left. But 17 touches for a prospect to become a client. So how are we staying top of mind with these people? How do they know that we help in this space? How do we give ourselves the credibility and the authority so that somebody can go, that's the person that I want helping me with that particular thing?
All right.
And a lot of folks out there that may be in startup, that may be struggling to figure out where they want to go and how they want to grow a business and what's scalable and how do I make money and how do I make this duplicatable and how can I scale a business? Because if you don't have a way to close deals, you don't have a business. And so what we're trying, my whole purpose for how I'm gearing Spaghetti on the Wall, this podcast in particular, is that I'd like to motivate, inspire, teach, and let people know that there is predictability in business. There's predictability in sales. There's predictability in marketing. The numbers might be higher or lower depending on where you are in the business, right? Mm-hmm. Depending on how much credibility you have, depending on how good you are at sales. For instance, Adrian here is getting started in sales. His conversion rate might be 5% right now, right? But that's because he's just starting out. But the better he gets, the more credibility he gets, the better he becomes, then the conversion rate starts to go to 10 to 15 to 20, 30, 40, 50%. Right? Because he gets better and better at it. And so that's where we're starting. We're trying to help people create a show around their brand so that they can use it to get together with referral partners, get together with their prospects, and really dial in what it is that they're doing so that they can have a sales process that works. And they know it is not a theory. This is actual tested, like tried and tested out systems that we put together that we know if you put this into your business, you're going to get results on the back end. All you have to do is just feed the machine. Now, right. I don't know what the conversion rate for you is going to be yet, right? But if I can give you a way to bring in your referral partners and to bring in the target market that you want to talk to, and you do that over and over and over and over again monthly, then on the back end of that, you will grow your business.
So what got you on this path, though? What first drew you to the idea of using podcasts as like a strategic tool and not just like as a hobby or as like a kind of like a creative outlet?
So the question was, how did I, because I'm also on TikTok over here. So I wanted to make sure that they got it too. So the question was, how did I stumble upon this? How did I figure this out? And I stumbled upon it. This was a fun thing that I just did. I was like, okay, I needed to be on social media on a consistent basis, and answering questions in a podcast format to me felt very easy. So I was like, great, do that. And so I started doing that really easy. And then what I started noticing was the people that were coming onto my podcasts loved the experience. They started referring me business, and it just kind of happened organically where I was like, holy smokes. Like, I just kind of interviewed them for 30 to 45 minutes, got to talking to them. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, I want a podcast, or can you help other people do this? And I was like, absolutely. And I just kind of stumbled into it. And so that's how I found out that, okay, this works. And so I stumbled upon it. And then I said, okay, how do we systemize this? Because one thing is, in science, right? You have your theory, you have your hypothesis, but then you have to test it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You need to make sure that it works. So I was like, okay, so the hypothesis is, could I use the podcast as a means to get content? Well, absolutely, right? You do a long form video like this, and you can cut this up into 20, 30 pieces. And we're doing that currently. Like, a lot of the social media content that you're seeing on my social media are clips from this podcast.
It started right here. And I just cut it up, boom. And now I have content. I have content to put all over my social media: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. So that hypothesis turned out to be correct, right? And we all know that you can take long form content and make it into short form content. Now, the second piece, the second hypothesis was, could I use this podcast to get business? And that's where we started doing research on how are we inviting the people to the show? Who's invited to the show? How are we inviting them to the show? How effective is it? Because, and we've spoken about this ad nauseum. Why is it that cold calling is such a shitty experience? Is because nobody wants to hear from you cold, right? To try and sell them something. However, if you invite them to a show where you're asking them about them and giving them a platform to speak, they're all about it. Like, the response rate is so much better, and it's nicer, and they're nicer to you, right? Because you're not asking them for a sale. So we kind of tested those things out, and we tested it. Like, Spaghetti on the Wall has over 200 episodes. Partnership for Profit is about to hit 100. So we saw, okay, firsthand that this stuff works. So because we tested it, we made sure that it worked. Now we're using it to help other people. So how do you define the success for this? So how, like, for strategic growth or for business growth in strategic podcasting, and how does that differ from a regular podcast?
So I know a lot of people are into vanity. So the question was, how do we differentiate and show success with the podcast? I know a lot of folks, when they are thinking about podcasting, they're thinking about, vanity metrics. Who's watching? What's my viewership like? What's my subscriber rate? How many testimonials do I have on the show? And that's great. And we definitely measure that, right? We definitely measure how many people are watching, what the engagement rate is, but that is not the thing. That's not the driver for us. That is just one element of what we're trying to do. The primary focus is a connection vehicle. That is our primary focus, is that we find people that's in our niche. Number one, the referral partners is where I'm going. That's first and foremost, because I could try and bring in prospects one at a time, and we've done that and we still do that. However, for us, it's a lot easier if we just hit the people that already have the credibility, that already have the trust, that already have the followers and subscribers, and create a joint venture partnership with those folks going, hey, we solve this problem. You guys solve that problem. If we can create a joint venture that works together, now you're making money and I'm making money. And I just go straight to the top. There's that book, 10X is easier than 2X, right? So if I'm going to do the same amount of work, if I'm going to reach out to people, if I'm going to have conversations, if I'm going to have sales conversations, why wouldn't I already want to create relationships with people that have credibility and trust with the avatar that you're already looking for? And then if I do that on a regular basis, and at the end of 2025, right? We're in April of 2025 right now. But at the end of 2025, if I can have 100 referral partners, I'm going to quadruple the business.
Right.
Because sales is law of averages. The sales is law of averages. That's it. Yeah. That's it. And if everybody can understand that, they'll be much better off. It is just a law of averages. If you talk to enough people, and you're going to get to the people that want to buy your product, because not everybody's going to want to buy. They might be in a different spot, right? But people are so afraid of rejection that they don't want to go through that process. Me, I'm just like, great. I just need to get to the people. I just need to get as many people as possible so that I can get to the people that want to hire me. So how do I get there? I just have to invite more people to the podcast. So if my conversion rate is 40%, and let's do 20%, right? Let's say our conversion rate is a lot lower.
Which is still a really high conversion rate for regular salespeople. I'm just gonna throw that
10%,
out.
10%. Yeah. Let's do 10, right? Let's say 10% is the conversion rate, right? And I can handle another 10 clients a month, right? And my flagship offer is say it's 2,000, right? Yeah. Say it's 2,000 a month, and I want to get to 10 more clients, right? That's 20 grand. That's 20 grand for the month. And we're just doing simple math here. Yeah. So if my conversion rate is 10%, how many people do I need to talk to in order to get to 2,000 to 10 new clients?
100.
There you go. Right. So I got to talk to 100 people if my conversion rate is 10%. How do I do that?
And if you can set up these conversations, that helps, definitely helps simplify. And
here's the deal. And you're saying 10%. I'm going to say 10% on people that may not know you. But what if Adrian over here already knows the people, is already respected, has already done the legwork? And if Adrian puts somebody in my pipeline, the conversion rate is no longer 10%. The conversion rate is now 50, 60% because he's already done the vetting. He already knows who's in his pipeline. He can say, oh, hey, Bob over here needs a podcast. He had already mentioned he wants a podcast. Or, hey, Bob already mentioned that he needed this. Problem solved. Armando, boop, here you go. So now, how many Bobs does Adrian know? If he's well respected, could be hundreds.
Right.
I'm talking to people right now that are in my, and I've spoken about this before. It's a beautiful story. Lewis Scott, who runs 8-Figure Firm, was the first guest on my podcast.
Nice.
He was the first guest. As a result of working with Lewis, he has single-handedly referred us over 7 figures in business over the last 4 years.
It's a good friend to have.
One person.
Yeah.
One person. That's why I keep telling people you are one person away from changing your entire business, which is why you have to niche it down. I've said it over and over again, because here's the deal. That person is not going to want to refer you if you're not the specialist in his niche,
Right.
right? So he knew that we could help attorneys because we did it for him. We did it for his law firm. So we were like, yeah, great. You can do it for us. You can probably do it for all of these other folk. And boom, there you go. So when that happened, and you were asking earlier, how did I figure out that this was the thing?
Yeah.
Because the first person I had on, and look, we already had a relationship. I just wanted to have a conversation with him about how he got so successful.
Right.
And then he knew, because he was following me on social media, that I did videos and I did all of that. So that relationship just happened super organically, which is why the podcast is such a good way to do it, because it's organic. I'm not doing the podcast because I want to get somebody to do the sale, right? Like, that's not why. I want to connect with somebody and see if there's some synergy and see if there's a relationship that can form organically there. And if there is, well, great. We can both help each other, right? And now we're in help conversations instead of sales conversations. I always say that. I'm like, these are not sales conversations. I'm not trying to manipulate somebody into working with me. If it's a good fit, if you have a problem and I can help you, then we exchange money and boom, and we're off to the races.
So you're going to change the ABC of sales from always be closing to always be connecting.
Whoo, write that down. Always be connecting. But it's so true.
Well, and I think the other great thing about the strategy too is, like, when people refer people to the show, it makes them look good because they're going like, oh, hey, like, I was on this show. Do you want to come on the show? You'd be a great fit for the show. And it makes them look good to refer people to you. It kind of elevates their status as well a little bit,
Not just looks good, but feels good too.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're getting to share something with somebody else. It's like a gift that you get to bring to your network of like, hey, I'm going to plug you in with these people. These people are connected to these people over here. And a lot of, and I don't think this gets talked about enough in sales and marketing, but a lot of our decision making is emotion based. We rationalize it after the fact, but when we make the decision, it's from something in here, and then we tell ourselves that this is what it's about. So if you can give them a positive feeling in the get-go, which I feel like this does naturally, to have a good conversation, to have content that you can share, to be connecting with people that are positive, but also in your space that are going to be able to network, that is a good feeling all the way around.
Right.
Absolutely. Let me add this real quick.
Sure.
So when people want to start podcasts, it's generally because they want to talk, right? The way I'm proposing you start a podcast is so that you talk 5% of the time and the other person gets to talk. That's the disconnect, right? That's why people are, when I propose this way of doing podcasting, is that they're like, well, I need to be talking, right? So I can show my thought leadership. And that's great. If that's what you want to do, and I'm doing that too, right? Like, that's why I changed Spaghetti on the Wall, because I wanted to do, hey, I'd like to do most of the talking on Spaghetti on the Wall, but I still know that what a powerful vehicle podcasting is to give other people an opportunity to speak. So I created Partnership for Profit as a solution to that problem.
Well, and then at that point, your audience is learning more because, I mean, yes, you are a great resource and you have a lot of knowledge, but you're not going to know everything about that person's business, about their experiences. So by letting them talk, you're letting your audience get more value from the product as a whole.
Yeah. And I've learned, over the 200 episodes that I did of Spaghetti on the Wall, where I had people come on and I was interviewing them. I've learned so much. Like, I learned a crap ton. So if you guys want to start a podcast where you are speaking and you want to give your thought leadership, that's great. And you should. However, have a place where you can do interviews for other people.
Yeah.
I think we've already answered this question at this point, but the next question was supposed to be, what are the core benefits? What core benefits can a podcast bring to a company's overall marketing or sales strategy? I feel like we've been hammering at that already, but do you have any other thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, I think we hit it home. It is essentially people love the word lead magnet, and
Right.
they're always talking about, oh, what's my lead magnet, and what's an effective lead magnet, and they want to put together a video sales letter, and they want to put together a 10-step process to blah 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 PDF, and they put it on a landing page so that people sign up, and then they have the emails, right? And that's great. And you should be doing that. That's one of the things that you should be doing. I'm saying let's accelerate that by inviting strategic partners, people that are on my, who put it on somebody wrote it in a book, The Dream 100, but basically they're saying, hey, who do you want to meet, right? And how do you get into their ecosystem? Your podcast. Your podcast is an amazing way to meet these people. Pat Lencioni, who wrote the book 6 Types of Working Genius, I wanted to meet him, had him on my podcast. Gino Wickman, who wrote the book Traction, I wanted him on my podcast. I wanted to meet him, had him on my podcast. Joey Coleman wrote the Never Lose a Customer Again. Wanted to meet him, had him on my podcast. Like, you know what I mean? It was just so easy to have connections with those types of people. So think about your Dream 100 and think about, okay, how do I meet those folks? How do I meet the people that I respect, people that I really want to do business with? Invite them to your podcast. And maybe if they're, maybe if they have high social currency, maybe if they're a high influencer, you may not be able to get them right off the bat, but you build your podcast, you build it. All of a sudden, you've got 50, 60 episodes. The person feels like, okay, this isn't some fly-by-night operation. Right. I absolutely would like to be a part of that. Boom. And that's how you get involved with those folks.
Do you have an example of a specific problem, a specific challenge that a well-executed podcast helped either you or a client solve?
Say that again.
Can you share a specific example of a business problem or a challenge that a well-executed podcast helped you or a client solve?
So, yes, absolutely. I love podcasting for this too, because you know what? I don't even talk about this. And this is super important. So, what is a problem that you have in your business, right? And how can I use podcasting to solve that problem? Here's how I do it. You ready? Write this down because you're going to love it. You're going to love it. Every week, I have a leadership meeting with my leadership team. And we have what we call opportunities and obstacles, right? That talk about, okay, what are the issues that we have that we need to solve? There's a good book, great books called Who Not How, right? So I've trained my staff to go, okay, let's not think about the problem. Let's think about who do we need to solve this problem, right?
Right.
So what did I do? I said, hey, Will, who's my creative director, I said, we need to update our website. He said, okay. Starts looking up some people, right? I said, cool. Brian Hong with Infintech Designs. Monster, right? We get on the podcast. We hit it off. It works. Now he's doing my website, right? Redesigned it. He's a part of my mastermind. As a result of using him, he's working with a construction company, right? He's doing all of their marketing. They needed videos. We traded the construction company coming into my house, doing renovations in my living room, renovated my living room, and I gave them video, right? Now they're going to remodel my entire bathroom because we had a situation that they wanted to solve, and we had another situation for them to solve. So,
all right, that's not bad at all.
If you're thinking about, So I don't even, and that's what I'm saying. I don't even think about this because like it just was one of those things that I wasn't even like, it wasn't even on my radar. My CFO, I found through my podcast. My financial advisor, I found on my podcast. My web designer, I found on my podcast. Who else? Construction company. I'll think about it. But like, oh, my fractional CMO I found on my podcast. So think about all of the problems that you're having right now. I want you to think about all of the issues that you're having right now, right? I want you to write those problems down. And then right next to those problems, I want you to write who can solve that problem for me. And I don't want to, not just who, somebody like some regular Joe Schmo. I mean, like the expert to solve that problem, right? My virtual staffing I found through my podcast.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
all right.
So
yeah, that's
all of the problems that you have that you want to solve and you want to find the person to solve it, invite that person to your podcast and treat that entire episode in a selfish way. Say, hey, glad you're on. I'm about to give you all of my problems. How would you solve this? And they're going to be happy to share that problem. They're happy to share the solutions to that problem with you. And then you can hire them. Dude, like, I'm so glad you asked me that question because, like, I don't ever talk about using podcasting to solve your problems. I'm always thinking about podcasting to, like, you know, as a sales tool and as a connection tool, but, like, totally forgot about using it as a problem-solving device to find the right people to help you solve all of your issues. Whatever you want to solve, you can solve by asking the right people and getting that person, that expert, to go, boom, here's how you're going to do that very quickly. You don't have to, you want shortcut? Boy, that's the shortcut.
all right. What's some advice that you have for entrepreneurs, you know, or you know, whoever that is that feels hesitant about starting a podcast because they either have, you know, limited time or technical expertise?
So when people give me the excuse as to why they don't want to start a podcast because of technical ability, because of time, because of whatever, it's just head trash. It's just head trash, right? Because they don't have, they have limiting beliefs about who they are and what they do and why is anybody going to listen to them, and that's all head trash, right? If implementation is the key to growth in your business, the people that implement quickly grow quickly. The people that sit around procrastinating and thinking, and I don't know if I need, should I do this or should I do that, and maybe I'll do that, and great, sit around and pontificate all day long. A year from now, you will still be in that spot. However, if you want to move forward, you can only move forward through action, through doing, through putting that your big boy pants on, big girl pants on, and like charging ahead, because that's the only way you're going to see the results. That's all head trash. When people give me excuses as to why they can't, once again, they need to find the who, right? Okay. There's people out there that can help you start a podcast. You're talking to them. You know what I mean? Like, if you need to start a podcast, contact me. I'll show you how to do it. I got a mastermind. I have a team. We do it done for you. And this is not a sales pitch. I'm just letting you know that it's very, very, very easy. You just have to find the right people to get over the head trash and stop the excuses as to why you can't. And let's start talking about why you can.
All right. What are the key metrics or the indicators that you would track to measure whether or not a podcast is truly supporting their business goals?
How are we tracking the metrics? Money, conversions, revenue.
Right.
If you're doing your podcast and you're talking to the right people and you have referral partnerships happening, at the end of 3 to 6 months, you should see an increase in revenue. We've seen crazy numbers like growth at 1,287%. Like we've seen
Which is
that.
astronomical.
It's run of the mill. It's not a big deal. Like it's not a big. That's what I'm saying. Like when people are like, "Oh my God, those are big numbers," like that is not. It's just run of the mill. It's just expected. I'm telling. When I say that this is predictable, it's predictable. Why? Because people are predictable. People are predictable. Numbers are predictable. If you do something enough, you're going to find the right people. You're going to find the right tribe. You're going to find the right people that gel. Not everybody's for you. You don't want to sell to everybody.
Right.
I don't need to sell to everybody. But I can guarantee that if you start a podcast, you niche it down, you start talking to your referral partners, and if you have a good product, let me just start off by saying you have to have a good product. If you don't have a good product, it doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
You're not going to grow your business. However, I'm going to assume that if you're doing this, that you have a good product. If you do not have a good product, what I recommend you do is start a podcast, invite the people that you want to work with onto that podcast, and you're in. You want a job? Do you want a 9-to-5 job? Do you want to get a job tomorrow in industry or a workplace that you want to work for? You like you want to work for HubSpot, you want to work for, Go High Level, you want to work for any of these companies? Put a list of people together, hiring managers, sales managers, bring those people on your podcast, and you should be able to get a job like that. You should be able to get a job like that. If somebody invited me to their podcast, interviewed me, and then said, "Hey, I want to come work for you," do you think that person's now at the top of the list?
Right.
Do you think that I'm at least listening to this person? Sure. Well, hold on. Okay. What do you do? Oh, well, I do this. Here's my resume. Boy, you'll get a job like that. So that's how I would use the podcast. Cannon, who's my COO, right? He's learning. He's starting to learn how to be a COO and start wearing that hat because he's procedure and system minded, but he doesn't have the experience. And he's like, I want to do a podcast. And I said, I think that's amazing. You know what you should do? Use it as an education. I said, I could fill your podcast up with the titans of the COO industry, EOS implementers and people like that. And you can just interview them all day, every day. Ask them all of the questions. Be so selfish and get the education from the top people. And he's like, great, that's what I'm gonna do. It's like, great.
So when it comes to content strategy, how do you decide which topics are relevant, both to you and to your niche?
How do I choose what topics are relevant to my niche?
Yeah.
So for me, it's the system. Okay. What are we selling? Right. And if you truly want to grow a business, if you want to scale a business, you have to step out of the technician seat. You have to step out of the person that's actually doing the job, and you have to step into the CEO seat. How do we do that? We do that by creating the system, because the system is what people are going to want to buy.
All right.
Right. People buy from me not because they want to work with Armando, and some do, but for the most part, the system is what they're buying, right? This is something that I created. So when you're putting together what is the content that I'm sharing, I would start with what is the system? How do you take somebody from A to Z, right? And so that they can get the result at the end. What is that? What is that system, right? And call it whatever, label it, the reason why McDonald's is as successful as it is because they systemize the entire approach. So no matter if you're going to Japan, if you're going to South Africa, if you're going to the United States, it's the same system. That's how businesses scale. But the problem is a lot of business owners are improvising at every step,
Right.
which is why if they're not niche down, they're chasing chickens. There's a bunch of arrows around. Nobody can follow. You can't hire the people because you don't have a system in place, because at every turn they have to ask you, what now? What now? What now? What now? Right? So do that work. It's a heavy lift. I'm not going to lie. It's a heavy lift. However, if you want somebody to help you with that, look it up. People, there are businesses out there. Yoni, Yoni Kaminsky. Yes, I believe that's his name. He has a whole business where he comes into your company and he creates all of the processes and procedures for you. Like, he has a business that will do that. He will come in, he will ask all the questions, he will interview your staff, he will interview you, he'll say, okay, how does this work, blah, 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 blah. He'll systemize it, and then boom, he has a VA company attached, and then you can take that and grow your business. So
that's handy.
when I'm creating content, perfect example, right? Like Gideon here is helping me write my book. I said, why not use my podcast to write my book? Why? Because look, could I throw it into AI and say, hey, I'm writing a book about podcasting, blah, 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 blah. Sure, I could.
Right.
Number one, it doesn't know the stories.
Right.
It doesn't know my stories. It doesn't know my background and my experiences and all and the things that I failed at, the things I was successful at. So I said, here's a perfect example as to how I could create the content that people are going to want to watch, right? That have to deal with my system, right? And the psychology behind the system and why people need to do this. And if I could create content around this, then I know I'm hitting it, right? And I've got people wanting to join my mastermind, people hiring us to do the done for you system. So I'm just now creating content around the system to help my clients and help my prospects understand how this works, right? So that's what I would recommend too for you is you're like, okay, what is the content that I need to be putting out there? Make it about what your offering is and not necessarily about the offer. Make it about teaching them how to do the thing. Because here's the thing. I could tell you, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you all of the information. I'm going to give you every single detail on how to do this. Are you going to do it? No, you won't. The likelihood of you doing this is very low. However, if I can give you as much information and you buy into it, then the point is that you'll hire me in some aspect, whether you join my mastermind and I show you how to do it, whether you buy my book and and you do it yourself, whether you hire us to consult, whether you hire us to just do it for you, right? Like that is the purpose, is that I'm going to build enough value so that you understand, hey, this system works. He did it for this person, this person, this person, this person. Great. I'm down.
There you go.
Right? And that's how that's the content and that's the stream, right? That's the authority that I'm trying to build. That's the content that I'm trying to build.
It's in business, they call it the core competencies.
Correct.
Of your business, if you're familiar with this term. So, and for those of you that aren't, so core competencies are like, what are you really good at? And in business, you want to really, really hone in. Like, for instance, McDonald's isn't selling software. Disney isn't selling electronic vehicles. Like, they're, people, they stick to their core competencies and really drill down on that. And like you said, you can offer people all the info in the world and show them how you do what you do, but you are the one that's good at that because you're the one doing it over and over again. So it makes much more sense for a large company to have you do it and they keep doing what they're doing and you help them make more money doing what they're doing and letting more people know about that.
Yep. And look, I've designed this system in a way where you can do it pretty easily at the very beginning so that you can connect with the right people so that you can make enough sales to start growing the business and so that you can start hiring people, right? So I've designed it that way so that you can get results pretty quick. But like I said, some people don't want to do it. And some people just want to hire it out, and that's good too.
There you go. What are ways that podcast episodes can be repackaged or repurposed across other marketing channels for maximum impact?
So how can you repurpose podcasting and these long form videos for maximum impact? This interview that we're doing right now, this podcast interview,
Here we are.
we will take this entire episode. Adrian here, who's one of my podcast hosts for Partnership for Profit, also an editor. He will transcribe this video, right? And then we're going to take this video, we're going to take the transcription, and we're going to put it into ChatGPT, and we're going to keep adding to that book. And then I'll have Gideon over here make sure that he edits it to make sure it all makes sense. Then I send it to my editing team so that they can just extract all of the mini clips from this episode so that my social media person can put it out on a daily basis. And I'm putting out like these, 45-second to 90-second mini clips on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
Right.
all across the platforms. And like, it is game changing. Like if you're sitting around thinking about, oh my God, what do I create? Oh my God, how do I do this? I just here's what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to do. Write this down. So make it super easy, right? Because action, it's all about action. Figure out what it is that your offer is, right? That's step one. What is your offer? What do you help with, right? Then niche it down, figure out, okay, who could I sell this to? Who are the group of people that want to buy this particular thing? Then go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to create a system around this particular thing, right? My offer, and to these people specifically. And I want you to create a table of contents for me for a book that I could write on this subject. Then you take that table of contents, and every week you do what I'm doing right now. You get a friend of yours to say, hey, can you please ask me these questions in this podcast format, please? And they'll go, yeah, I'll do that. And then you spend an hour them asking you the questions.
Yep.
And then you just and now you have a show, now you have content, and we're like that's what we're doing right here. Like I'm telling you, I'm giving you all of the answers. I'm giving you all of the answers. Like if you do this, you will get results. The problem is, will you do this?
Right.
That's the problem. That's part of the equation that people don't want to do. But if you do it, the results are here. They're waiting for you.
Right.
You just got to do it.
Now, how can the hosts effectively leverage guest appearances to expand their networks and generate new business leads?
Beautiful question. How are we leveraging bringing people onto the show so that we can maximize engagement? We also can maximize reach. Another reason why when I'm bringing in Pat Lencioni or Gino Wickman to my podcast, not only am I now reaching my audience, but I'm reaching their audience. Why? Because they're sharing my podcast. They're sharing my stuff. They're sharing my clips of them on it, right? And then I'm getting the social currency from all of the other people that are in my ecosystem that are like, holy crap, you had Pat on the show. That's amazing. Be like, wow, okay. So immediately your social currency goes up. It's all social currency by the end of the day. Do you guys, when I say social currency, do you understand what that means?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. And I'll explain it. So social currency is currency. Social currency is how people perceive you when you're not around, or digitally, or what your digital footprint is, or social media, right? Like what's your clout? What is, that's your social currency essentially, right? And so the higher your social currency, the higher you can demand money, right? And like why you can charge more and for appearances and things like that. If you got a low social currency, you might have an amazing business and you may be killing it. But if nobody knows you, your social currency is very, very low.
Right.
So and it is what it is. It is what it is. But it's these days we're in the attention the attention currency. We're in social
Ooh,
currency.
boy, howdy.
land.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just where we're at. The more social currency you have, the more options you have, right? Like I've been hit up to do user generated content for software, free hotel stays, free tours, free food at restaurants, free this, free that. Like all of these things start to happen as your social currency goes up. Why? Because they're like, oh, I would, talk about me on your social media channels, right? Like this is why people do that, so you creating podcasts and inviting people that have high social currency is going to increase your social currency. So think about podcasting in that way too. Is that the higher the relevance of your niche, by the way, don't just have people on there like a restaurant influencer and you're in the MSP space does nothing for your brand, right? Stay within brand and find those influencers that are within the brand, right? That are gonna be your strategic partners, by the way. Like those are the people that have the ear of your prospects.
Guys, I'm gonna have to take out. If
Go ahead, take out.
Yeah, if I leave, it's not gonna kill the stream, is it?
No, we got to get off anyway because you got to use this stream for Partnership for Profit.
Yeah, I've got one
5
coming up
minutes, I think.
About 5 minutes. Yeah,
Let's wrap it up.
All right.
We're gonna wrap it up.
Let's see. Let's jump ahead. How can companies? This might be the last one we get to. How can
Yeah,
podcasts serve as a bridge between a company's sales and marketing efforts to create a more unified customer journey?
Here's what I'm gonna say in closing,
right.
because that's going to be a very involved answer, and I want
right.
to make sure that I answer it properly. But here's what I will say in closing: is that implementation in your business is tied to the speed of growth in your business is tied to the speed of implementation, and that's from Lewis Scott. I think he trademarked that, but it's totally true. Like implement quick, you're gonna get the results that you want. So I appreciate y'all. We'll be here next week, same time. Well, no, I don't know about the same time, but we will be here next week. And you guys can always check out Spaghetti on the Wall everywhere where there are podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, you name it. So appreciate it, and we'll see y'all soon.
Thanks, Armando.